Good evening, and thank you for slipping into Sleepy Kitchen with me. Tonight, our subject is berries, the small fruits that sit at the easy intersection of snack and ingredient. They can feel almost effortless because a berry does not ask to be peeled, and it fits neatly into a spoonful, a handful, or a quick topping for something plain. Here is a quiet, surprising fact to start us off. Botanically, many of the berries we call berries are not true berries at all. Strawberries and raspberries do not qualify by the strict definition, while bananas and tomatoes do. In the kitchen, though, berry simply means tender, juicy fruit that bruises easily and fades quickly, and that practical meaning is the one we will use tonight. If these gentle food stories help you unwind, you can subscribe and come back anytime you want an easy place to land. Settle in, let your breathing slow, and enjoy this like a calm walk through the produce aisle with no rush, no effort, and nothing you need to remember. In everyday cooking, a berry is a kitchen category, not a strict botanical label, meaning a small, juicy fruit people eat fresh or cook into sweet tart dishes. Botanists use the word in a narrower way, but grocery language follows how the fruit behaves in a carton and on a plate, not how the plant is classified. The practical consequence is that strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries belong together in the kitchen because they share tenderness and quick spoilage. That shared behavior is the thread that connects every other berry fact that follows. Most berries are mostly water, and that high water content makes them bruise under pressure that would not bother firmer fruit. Even the weight of other berries in a package can leave the bottom layer with soft spots, which is why berries are usually sold in shallow containers instead of tall bags. Inside the fruit, pressure breaks tiny cell walls that hold juice in place, and the damaged area turns wetter, softer, and more inviting to molds and yeasts. Once bruising starts, it can spread because leaking juice moistens nearby berries and makes the whole carton feel fragile. Once bruising makes sense, the next helpful clue is how berry color forms in the first place. Bright berry reds, blues, and purples come from natural plant pigments, and those pigments often build as the fruit moves toward ripeness. One common pigment family is called anthocyanins, which is simply a name for color compounds that plants make as part of normal protection and signaling. In everyday terms, deeper and more even color often travels with fuller aroma and a more balanced tart-sweet taste, while pale patches can signal a berry that never finished developing on the plant. Color is not a perfect guarantee, so the next big factor is how berries are handled after harvest. Compared with thicker-skinned fruits like apples and citrus, berries are highly perishable, and time at warm temperatures costs them quality quickly. Cooling slows the natural softening that continues after harvest, and it also slows the growth of microbes that like wet, sugary surfaces. A few hours left, warm can shorten a berry's usable life by days, even if the fruit still looks acceptable in the moment. That is why two cartons that look similar can behave differently at home, depending on how steadily they stayed cold from field to store. Once you understand that, the quiet rule makes sense again. Cold buys time, and dryness limits the surface moisture that microbes love. Wild berries and cultivated berries can share a name and still taste noticeably different, mostly because size and breeding change the balance between skin and juice. Smaller berries often have more skin compared with their interior, and many flavor compounds concentrate near the surface, so wild fruit can taste more intense or more tart. Cultivated berries are often selected for size, a consistent sweetness balance, and the ability to survive harvest and transport without collapsing. Knowing that trade-off makes it easier to see why people have long preserved berries instead of trying to keep them fresh. Berries have been part of human diets for thousands of years in many places because they are easy to gather, quick to eat, and easy to preserve when the season is short. Fresh berries disappear fast, so people have long cooked them with sugar into jams and syrups that hold their flavor far beyond harvest. Drying is another old method, shrinking berries into smaller pieces that store longer and taste sweeter because much of the water is gone. Those older solutions still shape modern buying because many berries are meant to be eaten quickly or turned into something that keeps. Modern berry farming uses variety choice and protected growing systems to stretch seasons and improve consistency, which is why berries can appear in stores far beyond a local summer peak. Growing under tunnels or other covers can reduce rain damage and help fruit stay cleaner and firmer, while careful harvest timing helps berries arrive with fewer pressure marks. These systems do not make berries sturdy, but they can make the average carton more reliable when cooling and transport stay steady. Even with all that work behind a clamshell, the last step is still a quick check in the store. The simplest berry rule at the store is practical. Choose fruit that looks dry, smells fresh, and shows no pooled juice or fuzzy spots hiding between berries. A clean, fruity smell is a better sign than a shiny surface, because shine often comes from moisture that speeds spoilage. Tip the container gently and look at the bottom, since crushed berries collect there first and quietly leak into everything above them. With that quick check in mind, it makes sense to start with the berry most Americans reach for first, the strawberry. Strawberries are the berry most American shoppers meet first because they are widely available, familiar, and easy to use without any special prep or equipment, even for people who rarely cook. They show up in small clamshells that fit a quick snack, and they also show up in larger family packs that can cover breakfast bowls, lunch boxes, and dessert in the same week. The useful reality, though, is that strawberries are freshness sensitive in a way you can actually notice. So much of their pleasure is aroma, and aroma is one of the first things to fade when weather shifts, harvest timing changes by even a day or two, or the fruit spends extra time warm during shipping and stocking. Steady cold slows that drift. So strawberries tend to reward the simplest habit of all, buy as if day one matters, because for strawberries, it really does. Unlike bananas or peaches, strawberries do not become sweeter after harvest in any meaningful way, because most of their sugar balance and the aroma compounds you care about are formed while the fruit is still attached to the plant. In plain language, strawberries do not have a strong post-picking ripening surge. They also do not respond much to the ripening gases that help other fruits. That is why storing strawberries near bananas will not rescue an underripe carton. At best, it does nothing. At worst, it can encourage softening without improving taste. A pale, underdeveloped strawberry rarely turns into a great strawberry at home, even if the outside looks a little redder after a day. A truly ripe berry is already as good as it is going to get. When I buy strawberries, I keep it calm and direct. I choose the ripeness I want to eat, not a ripeness I hope will appear later. Not every strawberry plant produces fruit on the same schedule, and that growing pattern is one reason strawberries can feel in season for a long time in stores, even though local peaks are shorter and sharper. Many farms use June-bearing types that deliver one main crop in a concentrated window. Other farms use day-neutral types, sometimes called ever-bearing, that can produce repeated waves of berries across a longer stretch. It is not literally every day. It is more like steady deliveries, week after week, as conditions allow. In practical terms, one style behaves like a big seasonal burst, and the other behaves like a series of smaller bursts. That difference can influence berry size, price, and consistency from week to week as fields move from early flushes to later pickings. It also helps explain why two cartons bought a month apart can look similar yet taste different because the plant schedule affects what gets harvested and when. A strawberry is also unusual in a simple, visible way. The tiny dots on its surface are not just decoration. Each one is a small dry fruit that holds a seed inside, sitting on the outside rather than hidden in a core. Many strawberries carry roughly a couple hundred of these little specks. That is part of why the berry feels lightly textured on your tongue, and part of why sliced strawberries grip sugar and cream instead of letting them slide off in a slick sheet. Those outside points also create many tiny edges and shallow pockets where water can cling after rinsing. They also increase surface area. Together, those details help explain why strawberries can look wet, soften, and dull in flavor more quickly if they are washed and then left damp. So, the strawberry's surface design quietly points you toward two practical choices: how you wash and how you dry. Ripeness cues on strawberries are mostly about color, shine, and firmness, because sweetness and aroma generally rise as red color becomes more complete and the berry's fragrance develops near the top. White or green shoulders near the leaves often mean the berry did not finish developing fully, so it may taste sharper and less fragrant even if the tip is red. The texture can also feel slightly crunchy rather than tender. On the other end, very dark berries that look dull rather than bright and feel extremely soft in the pack often signal fruit that is past its best storage window. It may taste sweet in the moment, but it will leak juice and spoil faster. Once you can read that range, choosing becomes calmer. You pick firmer, evenly colored berries with fresh-looking green caps and a clean strawberry smell for slicing and snacking. Then you can treat softer, darker berries as cook-soon fruit, where texture matters less and the sweetness can still shine. Strawberries bruise easily because their skin is thin and their interior is tender, so pressure damages them faster than it would damage an apple, a grape, or even a blueberry with its tougher skin. A simple comparison is that a strawberry behaves more like a ripe tomato than like a crisp fruit. This matters most in the bottom layer of a package, where the weight of the top layer presses down for hours, and where an overfilled carton can mash berries against the lid. Bruises often begin as invisible cell damage. Then they show up later as wet patches where juice escapes. Once juice leaks, that spot becomes an easy landing place for molds and yeasts because it is wet and sugary and already broken open. That is why a carton can seem fine at purchase and then collapse quickly at home. So one quiet shopping habit matters more than people expect. Check the bottom, tip the clamshell gently, and look for crushed berries, pooled juice, or a sticky shine that suggests something has already broken down. You are not looking for perfection. You are looking for signs that the fruit is still dry and intact. If the bottom layer looks clean, you have bought yourself more good days. It can also help to choose a carton where the berries are similar in size. because mixed sizes often mean mixed ripeness, and the softest ones tend to leak first. Fewer crushed tips and fewer flattened sides usually means the fruit has handled pressure better. That simple check does not guarantee greatness, but it reduces the chance of the sudden overnight collapse that makes strawberries feel unpredictable. Once strawberries are home, the same gentle logic continues, keeping the green cap on until you are ready to use the berries can help them stay firmer, because the cap protects the stem end, which is one of the most vulnerable parts of the fruit. The stem area is like a small doorway into the berry. Once it is cut or pulled away, juice can seep out more easily. The exposed flesh dries and softens faster, and the berry becomes more likely to pick up off smells in the fridge. In storage terms, capped berries often leak less and hold their shape longer. The same idea applies to cutting. Whole berries last longer than sliced berries, not because slicing is wrong, but because slicing creates more exposed surface and more places for juice to migrate. So, if you want strawberries to last even a little longer, keep them whole, keep the caps on, and avoid stacking them under heavy items in the refrigerator. Give them a quiet spot where they will not be bumped. Cold buys time. Gentle handling buys texture. And dryness buys you the clean surface that slows mold. Once that feels straightforward, the next natural question is how to rinse strawberries without making them feel waterlogged. Strawberries can take on water most easily through cut areas and damaged spots, which is why soaking tends to be the method that disappoints people. Soaking can dilute flavor and soften texture, even if the berries were firm to begin with. A gentle rinse under cool running water is usually enough for surface dust. The key step is drying well, because dampness is what encourages fast mold. If you want one simple timing rule, it is to wash strawberries close to eating or cooking, not days in advance. Washing early often leaves moisture behind, and moisture turns one weak berry into a problem that spreads. A small detail also helps. Remove the hull after rinsing rather than before. Cutting first creates an open path for water to enter and for juice to escape. Rinsing first keeps the berry's interior protected for as long as possible. After rinsing, let the berries dry in a single layer until the surface looks matte again, not shiny. That matte look is a practical sign that surface water is gone. Then chill them. It is a calm routine. Rinse briefly, dry thoroughly, store cold. That routine does not make strawberries last forever, but it does help them stay closer to what you paid for. Where strawberries come from also shapes what you taste, even when the package looks familiar. In the United States, most fresh market strawberries come from California for much of the year. Florida supplies a large share during winter and early spring, when many other regions are quieter. The home consequence is simple. Strawberries can taste different across the calendar because weather, day length, and travel distance influence sweetness, acidity, and aroma. Off-season berries are often handled for sturdiness first, because they have to survive the trip and the store display. That can mean they are picked a little firmer, with a little less time to finish developing perfume on the plant. This is also why truly local peak strawberries, when they are available, often taste more perfumed and balanced than off-season berries that traveled farther. They can be picked closer to their best eating point because they do not need as much built-in toughness. When you know that, you stop blaming yourself for a carton that is merely fine in January and suddenly wonderful in late spring. You begin to notice the calendar, the smell, and the feel of the fruit, and you buy with fewer hopes and more simple cues. Once strawberries feel predictable, it becomes easier to notice how differently other berries behave. Some berries are built to hold their shape a little better. Some arrive with a natural coating that helps them resist moisture and handle baking. That is the quiet doorway into blueberries, and the dusty, waxy bloom that helps them travel from clamshell to muffin and still taste bright. Blueberries come from woody shrubs rather than soft canes or low vines. And that woodiness is part of why blueberry farms can be long-lived. A well-sited bush can keep producing for many years, sometimes for decades, because the plant is built to overwinter and regrow on the same permanent structure. That long life creates a quiet connection to place. The same planting can reflect the same soil and the same local climate, season after season, which is one reason blueberry flavor often feels tied to where it was grown. Once you notice that idea of place, the next detail is something you can see with your own eyes, right on the berry's skin. The pale, silvery film you often see on blueberries is called the bloom. It is a natural waxy layer the fruit makes for protection. Bloom helps slow moisture loss, and it offers a bit of defense against tiny surface scuffs, which is part of why berries with intact bloom often look fresher and store better than berries that are shiny from being rubbed. Bloom is harmless to eat, and it rinses off easily. Its main value in a store is as a clue. A dusty-looking berry has usually been handled more gently than a berry that looks polished and glossy. Bloom is a quiet signal, and once you start using it, you begin noticing other differences that change the whole blueberry experience. Not every blueberry on the market comes from the same type of plant, and one of the biggest category splits is high bush versus low bush. High bush blueberries are usually the larger berries most people picture in a fresh clamshell. Low bush blueberries are typically smaller and are often marketed as wild blueberries, especially in frozen form. A simple everyday comparison is that smaller berries give you more skin per bite. Since many flavor compounds concentrate near the surface, that extra skin can make the taste feel deeper and more blueberry, even when the sweetness level is similar. Some people love that intensity. Others prefer the plumper bite of high bush berries. Either way, the difference points you toward the next helpful fact, because blueberries do not begin their life blue. Blueberries do not start blue, and the color shift tells a quiet story of ripening on the bush. The berries usually move from green to a reddish stage and then toward blue as pigments build. The bloom adds a pale haze that can make a ripe berry look slightly lighter than it really is. Here is the practical point that saves expectations. A berry can look fully blue and still taste a little sharp if it was picked early. Sugar and aroma continue to develop as the berry hangs on the shrub, even after the outside color arrives. So color is a starting clue rather than a guarantee. Once you treat color that way, it helps to add one more buying signal that is surprisingly reliable. A good fresh blueberry should feel firm. Firmness is a quick proxy for intact structure, the simple sign that the berry's walls are still holding together. Soft berries and wrinkled berries usually suggest age, dehydration, or damage. They also tend to leak more once they warm up, and that leaking can shorten the life of the whole container. There is also a small motion test you can do without fuss. If you gently tilt a pack, the best berries roll freely. Older berries can cling in damp clusters, which often means juice has started to appear somewhere you cannot see. That roll is not a perfect test, but it is a useful one. Firm berries that roll are usually a calmer bet than berries that stick. Once you know how to read bloom and firmness, blueberries start to feel easier than many other berries. They are still perishable, but they are less fragile than brambleberries, and that changes how you use them at home. Before we get to cooking, there is one plant fact that explains both flavor and availability. Blueberries are picky in a way that shows up long before the carton reaches a store. Blueberries prefer acidic soil compared with many common garden plants, and that single preference shapes where they thrive. In less acidic soil, the plant struggles to take up certain nutrients, even if it receives plenty of water and sun. When a bush is not comfortable, it can look stressed, grow poorly, and produce less satisfying fruit. That is why blueberries are strongly associated with certain regions, and why home growers often talk about soil conditions more for blueberries than for many other fruits. You do not need to memorize numbers to feel the consequence. The consequence is simply that blueberries have happy places, and those places tend to produce the berries people remember. Once soil explains why blueberries are regional, it also helps explain why they can feel remarkably consistent when they are grown in the right conditions. That consistency is part of what makes blueberries one of the easiest berries to cook with. Despite being juicy, blueberries often hold their shape better than raspberries or blackberries when heated. Their skins are relatively tough, and their round structure stays intact longer. That is why muffins and pancakes can end up with visible whole berries rather than a fully blended sauce, especially when the berries are folded into a batter that sets quickly. Blueberries can stay themselves for a while, even in heat. Then, of course, they begin to burst. Over time and heat, blueberries still release juice. When that liquid spreads before the crumb firms up, it can stain and streak, turning parts of a bake darker and softer than you intended. In a cake, that can show up as dull patches where the berry juice is soaked into the surrounding batter. In pancakes, it can show up as purple smears that look dramatic and taste sweet tart. None of this is a failure. It is simply blueberry behavior. Once you accept that blueberries will leak when they burst, the small tricks people use to manage that juice start to make sense, and they do not have to feel complicated. One simple trick is a light coating of flour or starch on the berries. The powder absorbs a bit of surface moisture and slightly thickens the first juices that escape. It does not seal the berry. It just slows the spread of the liquid enough to keep a crumb from turning muddy in spots. In pies and cobblers, the same idea shows up in the filling. A bit of starch mixed into the sugar and berries helps the released juice set into a soft gel instead of pooling as thin liquid at the bottom. The goal is not to trap the juice. The goal is to make the juice behave, so you get a filling that holds together and a slice that looks calm on the plate. Once you understand that juice is inevitable, frozen blueberries start to feel like a natural extension of the blueberry story, rather than a separate ingredient. Frozen blueberries are often processed and frozen quickly after harvest, which makes them a steady option when fresh berries are out of season or inconsistent. Freezing changes texture. Ice crystals disrupt the inside of the berry, so thawed blueberries are usually softer and they release more liquid. But the flavor can remain strong, and the convenience is real. You can measure what you need without racing against spoilage, and you can keep blueberries on hand for weeks or months without worrying that the carton will collapse overnight. In practical terms, frozen blueberries are usually best treated as a cooking berry rather than a snacking berry, unless you enjoy the softer texture. If you bake with frozen blueberries, the same juice logic applies, just a little louder. They tend to bleed more, and they can turn batters darker more quickly, especially if they thaw in the bowl. One calm way to handle that is to add them straight from the freezer and fold gently, so they do not smear and stain before the batter sets. Another calm way is simply to embrace the streaks and treat them as part of the blueberry look. Blueberry food often wears its color proudly. Either approach works, and the point is that frozen berries are predictable once you expect extra juice. There is also a small blueberry detail that helps you recognize the fruit at a glance and helps explain why rinsing blueberries is often less fussy than rinsing brambleberries. Each blueberry has a little star-shaped end opposite the stem, sometimes called the crown. It is a remnant of the flower. That crown is one reason blueberries tend to trap less water during rinsing than raspberries and blackberries, because blueberries do not have deep crevices and hollow pockets. Their surface is comparatively smooth. Bloom still matters, and gentle handling still matters, but blueberries do not hide water in the same way. The crown also gives you an orientation cue when you are checking berries quickly. Splits and cracks often show near the stem end, where handling pressure concentrates. So a brief glance can tell you whether the berries look intact or stressed. None of these checks have to be intense. You are just noticing what the fruit is telling you. A dusty bloom, a firm feel, and berries that roll freely are quiet signs that the carton has been treated kindly. Once blueberries feel familiar in the hand and on the tongue, it becomes easy to step into the brambleberries. That family is built differently. Structure is everything, and tenderness has a different meaning. Blueberries teach you to look for bloom and firmness. Brambleberries teach you to look for delicacy, hidden moisture, and the tiny spaces where a berry can break down quickly. And that shift is the calm doorway into raspberries and blackberries, where the fruit shape is the whole story. Raspberries and blackberries belong to the bramble family, which simply means they grow on canes that arch and sprawl, and they need a bit of management to keep the fruit clean and reachable. A cane patch can send up tall shoots that produce berries well above knee height. So many growers train the canes along wires. That keeps clusters off the ground, lets air move through the patch, and reduces rot that starts when fruit sits against damp soil. The kitchen consequence is easy to feel. Brambleberries usually arrive more delicate than blueberries and more easily marked than strawberries, because their shape is made of many tiny units that separate under pressure. Once you see that structure clearly, the way these berries spoil and the way they cook starts to feel predictable. Raspberries are hollow when picked because the white core stays attached to the plant. What you hold is a cup-shaped berry. That hollowness is not a flaw. It is simply how the fruit releases. But it does make raspberries fragile because there is less internal support holding the shape together. So a raspberry can crush with surprisingly little force, especially if it is stacked, jostled, or pressed against the side of a container. When it crushes, it leaks juice into all the tiny gaps between berries. That juice is sweet and sticky, and it turns one damaged spot into moisture that spreads. This is why raspberries rarely forgive rough handling, and why their sturdier cousin, the blackberry, often lasts longer in the fridge. Blackberries keep their core when picked, meaning the center comes with the berry rather than staying behind on the plant. That one difference makes blackberries denser. It also usually makes them feel heavier and slightly sturdier when you pinch them gently. At home, that density buys a little time. Blackberries can tolerate a bit more travel and a bit more storage before turning into a leaky mass, though they are still far more delicate than firm fruits. They bruise, they soften, and they mold if they sit wet. They just do it a touch more slowly than raspberries. Once you notice the core difference, it becomes easier to understand why both berries look bumpy and why moisture is such a big problem for them. A raspberry or blackberry is built from many small bead-like sections called drupelets. That is why the surface is made of little bumps instead of one smooth skin. Those many pieces create lots of seams, and seams trap water and juice. In everyday terms, a brambleberry has far more tiny corners than a blueberry, so it gives moisture more places to hide. That hidden moisture is a big reason these berries mold quickly if they stay damp. It is also why they are often the first to collapse in a mixed berry bowl. In a mixed bowl, the sturdier berries can sit there looking fine, while one soft brambleberry quietly leaks and starts the chain reaction. Once the structure is clear, the shopping cues feel simpler. You are looking for berries that look dry, hold their shape, and show as few crushed drupelets as possible. With raspberries, you often want a carton where the berries look bright and plump rather than slumped. With blackberries, you want berries that look glossy black but still firm, not berries that look dull and syrupy. And because these fruits hide trouble in their seams, it is worth doing the small check you already learned with other berries. Tip the container gently and look for pooled juice, damp clumps, or a sticky shine that suggests one berry has already broken down. Raspberries also come in multiple colors, including red, golden, black, and purple types, and color often signals a shift in aroma and tartness balance rather than a simple better or worse. Golden raspberries are often milder and can taste less sharp. Darker types can taste earthier or more wine-like, depending on variety and ripeness. So color can be a practical way to match a berry to a job. A gentler berry can be easier to eat plain. A stronger berry can stand up better in a sauce, where tartness and perfume need to stay noticeable after heat. Once color and structure feel clear, it helps to understand one quiet reason brambleberries can vary so much week to week. The plants themselves run on a schedule. In many traditional, summer-bearing bramble varieties, a cane grows in its first year and fruits in its second year. After it finishes fruiting, it dies back. The roots live on, but the individual canes follow a 2-year rhythm. A simple comparison is that the plant is always raising new canes while older canes are finishing their work. So growers manage patches by removing old canes and supporting new ones. This is not just about neatness. It is about keeping productive canes coming without creating a tangled, shaded patch that holds moisture and disease. Air and light matter. Dryness matters. That 2-year rhythm also helps explain why some bramble patches seem to take a year off if canes were damaged by cold or stress, because the plant's next fruiting wood may have been lost. Some bramble varieties are primocane bearing, meaning first-year canes can produce a late-season crop without waiting for a second year. In everyday terms, that means a cane can grow up and also give berries toward the end of the season. That changes how growers prune, and it can extend harvest later into the year in some regions. At home, the consequence is mostly about texture. Late-season brambleberries are often softer. Weather swings, shorter days, and cooler nights can shift how berries develop and how well they travel. So, when you see late raspberries or blackberries, it can be wise to treat them as use-soon fruit, even if they look pretty in the carton. That use-soon mindset fits brambleberries in general, because they spoil quickly for structural reasons. Their many seams hold moisture. Their skins are thin and easily broken. One soft berry in a carton can leak juice that coats neighboring berries, and that sugary film becomes a fast-growing spot for molds. Spoilage can spread in a day or two. So, the most effective home habit is not a fancy container or an elaborate trick. It is sorting. When you get home, take a calm minute to remove any crushed or fuzzy berry. One bad berry can change the whole carton. Removing it early often saves the rest. After sorting, keep brambleberries cold. Keep them as dry as you can. Avoid stacking them under heavy items. And if you want them to last even a little longer, do not wash them right away. Washing adds moisture, and moisture hides in the seams. For brambleberries, dry surfaces matter more than shine. A berry that looks a little matte and dry often keeps better than a berry that looks freshly rinsed and damp. The good news is that the very thing that makes brambleberries fragile also makes them wonderful in a pot. Their structure is ready to come apart. Cooking is basically controlled breakdown, and raspberries and blackberries do that beautifully. They are excellent for quick sauces and compots because heat separates drupelets and releases juice with only a short simmer. You do not need long cooking to get a smooth, spoonable texture. A simple mash with a fork can turn warm berries into a sauce in minutes. The seeds will still be there, of course, but the texture becomes soft and cohesive very quickly. That makes brambleberries forgiving in a different way. A slightly soft carton that is not great for snacking can still be perfect for a warm topping. Tenderness becomes a feature instead of a flaw. A spoonful of raspberries warmed with a little sugar can turn into a bright syrup for yogurt. Blackberries simmered briefly can become a deep, dark compote for oatmeal or ice cream, and because the cook time is short, the flavor often stays vivid. Once you see how quickly these berries give up their juice, you also understand why they can stain and leak so easily on the counter. The juice wants to move. Your job is simply to decide where it should go. Rinsing is the last everyday issue these berries share, and it is also the step where people accidentally shorten their life. Because brambleberries have so many crevices, rinsing can leave hidden water behind. Hidden water shortens their life faster than most people expect. A gentle rinse is fine when you are about to eat or cook them. The key is timing and drying. Rinse close to use. Then dry as well as you can without crushing them. Spreading berries in a single layer on towels helps surface water evaporate instead of pooling underneath. It is also gentler than tossing them in a deep bowl, where berries at the bottom get pressed. If you want one calm rule for brambleberries, it is this: sort early, wash late. That one rhythm protects texture and aroma better than most other steps. You keep the berries dry while they wait. Then you rinse them right before they become food. With that rhythm in mind, it makes sense to meet the next berry, which is almost the opposite of a brambleberry. It is firm and tart, and it is designed to float and keep. Cranberries are different from most berries because they grow on low, trailing vines in managed beds that people often call bogs. These vines spread close to the ground, and the farms are built around controlling water. They use ditches, gates, and careful grading so growers can raise or lower water levels when needed. A calm way to picture it is that a cranberry field is designed almost like a water system, as much as it is like a garden. Water is not just nearby. Water is part of the plan, used for protection, harvest, and handling. So cranberry growing depends on engineering as well as soil, which is one reason cranberry regions are so specific and so consistent over time. Once that managed water system makes sense, the famous flooded harvest stops sounding like a gimmick and starts sounding like a practical tool. Many commercial cranberry beds are flooded at harvest because ripe cranberries float, and floating berries are easier to gather in bulk. When the water rises, the berries lift off the vines and collect at the surface. Growers can then guide them into a corner of the bed with long floating booms and gentle movement, then collect and pump them out for cleaning and processing. The everyday comparison is simple. It behaves like floating leaves on a pond, where you can sweep them together instead of picking one by one. That efficiency is the point. Wet harvesting is especially useful for berries headed to juice, sauce, and other processed uses, where a little surface scuffing is not a problem. Water is the tool here. Once you accept that, the next detail falls into place. Cranberries float so reliably for a structural reason, not because of luck. Cranberries float and can even bounce because they have small internal air pockets. Those air spaces lower the berry's density enough that it rides up in water. They also help explain why a firm cranberry springs back when dropped, while a soft or damaged cranberry tends to thud or squash. Processors can use that simple physical behavior to separate sturdier fruit from weaker fruit because firmness is built into how the berry is made. An easy scale is that a good cranberry behaves more like a tiny rubber ball than like a grape when it hits a surface. That does not mean you should turn your kitchen into a testing lab. It just means cranberry quality shows up in the berry's feel and structure, not only in its color. And that firm, air-pocketed build connects directly to the most obvious cranberry trait at the table. Fresh cranberries are sharply tart, and most people find them unpleasant to eat raw, without sweetening or mixing. The main reason is simple. Cranberries carry a high level of natural acids compared with sweeter berries, so the flavor reads less like snack fruit and more like bright sour until sugar, heat, or dilution balances it. In practical terms, cranberries act like a flavor ingredient the way lemon does, rather than like a berry you finish by the handful. That is why cranberry sauce works even when the raw fruit tastes harsh on its own. Tartness is not a flaw here. It is the whole roll. It also means a small amount can season a dish strongly, so a bag of cranberries can go farther than you expect in baking, sauces, and stuffing mix-ins. Once tartness sets the roll, it makes sense that most cranberries are sold in forms designed to soften that edge. Most cranberries are processed into products like juice, sauces, sweetened dried cranberries, and blends, rather than sold as a fresh berry for snacking. You can see it on a store shelf. Fresh cranberries show up in a narrow seasonal window and take up one or two shelves, while cranberry juice, dried cranberries, and cranberry sauces can occupy a larger section year-round. Processing helps in two simple ways. It adds sweetness, or it spreads cranberry flavor into a larger volume where it reads as bright and refreshing instead of sharply sour. So, cranberry season for fresh berries can feel short, even though cranberry flavor is present all year in shelf-stable forms. That seasonal feeling connects to where cranberries come from in the first place, and why they fit so naturally into pantry-style cooking. Cranberries are native to North America, and they are often described as one of the few widely grown commercial fruits that originated there. Long before modern managed beds, cranberries were gathered and used in preserved foods because their tartness and firmness made them suitable for drying and for mixing into longer-lasting preparations. At home, the consequence of that history is still visible. Cranberries have always been more of a pantry-minded berry than a bowl of fresh berries berry. Their strengths show up when they are stored, cooked, or combined with other ingredients. That helps explain why cranberry products became tied to certain holiday meals, where cooked fruit, preserved flavors, and big batch dishes fit naturally on the table. Once you place cranberries on that map, their harvest timing feels like part of the pattern rather than a surprise. Cranberry harvest season is in the fall, and fresh cranberries commonly appear in stores from early fall through late fall, with the exact timing shifting by region and weather. Many shoppers first notice the bags when holiday baking and big meals begin, because demand rises for sauce, pies, relishes, and savory mix-ins. So, fresh cranberries are one of the easiest seasonal produce items to plan around. Their appearance is fairly predictable, and their most common uses lean toward cooking rather than raw eating. When you see fresh bags, it is also a clue that most of the year's crop is moving through the system, headed either to processing or to the smaller slice that is selected for the fresh market. That split leads to an important difference in how cranberries are harvested. Dry harvested cranberries are often directed toward the fresh market because they tend to look cleaner and keep their skins in better shape. Dry harvesting uses equipment that combs or lifts berries off the vines without flooding, which can reduce scuffing and help berries stay attractive in a bag. Wet harvest berries, by contrast, are perfectly suitable for processing, where the berry will be crushed, cooked, or sweetened, and surface marks are less important. So, fresh cranberries are often a more selective stream of the crop, chosen for appearance and for how well the berries hold up in storage. The majority of berries are headed toward products where flavor matters more than looks. Once you know that, the bag in the produce section makes more sense. It is not the whole cranberry world. It is the small portion meant to stay intact. Even when you buy that fresh portion, cranberries still behave differently from delicate berries like raspberries. Cranberries can keep surprisingly well in the refrigerator when stored cold and dry, often lasting much longer than soft berries that collapse quickly. Their firm skins resist bruising. Their natural acidity discourages some spoilage. And their structure means they do not turn into a leaky mass after a day or two. At home, that means you can buy cranberries for a plan that is still a week away, as long as you store them in a way that avoids trapped moisture. Keep them cold. Keep them dry. If you spot a damaged or shriveled berry, remove it so it cannot dampen the rest. Avoid sealing the berries in a way that collects condensation, because condensation is the quiet enemy that speeds mold. If you want a simple shopping cue, it matches the cranberry's nature. Look for berries that feel firm and look plump rather than wrinkled, and avoid bags with lots of wetness or crushed fruit. Cranberries are built to be resilient, but they still respond to moisture and damage. The good news is that when you treat them well, They show you how powerful the cold and dry rule can be. With cranberries, that rule feels almost exaggerated because the fruit is designed for storage and handling in a way most berries are not. Cranberries are proof that a berry can be both a fruit and a pantry tool, depending on how it is built. With cranberries in mind, the next step is to take that same quiet rule back to the whole berry drawer and make it work for strawberries, blueberries, and brambleberries too. Cold buys time. Dry surfaces slow trouble. And once those two ideas are steady, berries stop feeling like guesswork and start feeling like something you can read and use, one calm carton at a time. Berries are among the most perishable items in the produce section because they bruise easily and because their surfaces offer sugar and moisture to molds as soon as a berry is damaged. A simple scale is that a berry can go from good enough to leaky and dull overnight, while sturdier fruit like apples can sit for weeks without the same quick collapse. So, berry storage is less about fancy containers and more about removing two triggers as consistently as you can: warmth and moisture. Once you accept those triggers, the rest of berry storage becomes a set of small choices that add up. Moisture is the main enemy of berry storage because damp surfaces help mold start and spread. Even clean water from rinsing can act like a fast track for spoilage if it sits in a seam, a crease, or at the bottom of a container. Brambleberries are full of seams. Strawberries have tiny pockets around their seeds. Even blueberries can collect a thin film of water if they sit in a closed, humid box. At home, that means berries usually last longer when you store them unwashed and only rinse what you plan to eat soon. You are not being fussy. You are simply avoiding the extra water that molds want. Keep the berries dry first, and the next factor becomes the temperature they live at. Cold slows the natural softening of berries and also slows microbial growth, so refrigeration buys you time in two directions at once. An everyday comparison is that a berry that feels fine after a few hours on the counter may still be spending most of its remaining shelf life during that warm time, even if it does not look worse yet. The clock is moving even when the berry still looks pretty. So, getting berries into the fridge quickly, especially after a car ride or delivery, often matters more than any special container you could buy later. Cold buys time. Once berries are cold, the next goal is to keep them cold without trapping wetness. Fully sealed plastic can trap humidity, and trapped humidity can turn into condensation, especially when a cold container is opened and closed repeatedly. Condensation is a thin film of water that coats berries and encourages mold in the places you cannot see, like the bottom layer and the tight spaces between fruit. So berries often keep better with some airflow, either in their original vented clamshell or in a container that is not airtight. Airflow is not magic, but it helps keep surfaces drier, which is the main lever you control at home. The balance is simple. You want a little breathing room, but you still want the fruit protected so it does not get crushed or dried out by direct blasts of cold air. A quick check at the store can save you days at home, and the bottom of the container is where the truth usually sits. Gravity collects the earliest damage where you are least likely to look. Leaked juice and crushed berries usually appear under the top layer first, and a sticky patch under a few berries can seed the whole pack with mold quickly. So, the useful habit is a gentle tilt and a glance at the underside before you buy. You are looking for pooled juice, damp clumps, or a dark crush spot that is already spreading. A carton can look fine from above and be failing underneath. That same bottom check matters again after you get home, because sorting is one of the strongest berry habits you can learn. One moldy or crushed berry can spread trouble through a container because spores and sticky juice travel easily across berries that touch. Berries stored as one tight herd are vulnerable because one weak berry becomes the starting point for the rest. So at home, sorting soon after purchase often pays you back. Remove any soft, leaking, or fuzzy berry right away. If you catch one early, you often save the rest from being coated in juice overnight. That can extend the usable life of the remaining berries by a day or two, which is a meaningful gain for something as delicate as berries. Once sorting is done, the next storage detail is how berries sit against each other. Berries store best when they are not piled deep and when the bottom layer is protected from pressure. Shallow depth reduces crushing. It also makes it easier for moisture to evaporate rather than pool, because fewer berries are pressed tightly into a damp mass. So, one simple upgrade is spreading berries into a wider container, especially for raspberries and blackberries, which collapse under their own weight more easily than blueberries. If you keep berries in the original pack, the same idea still applies. Treat the pack gently, avoid stacking heavy items on top, and give the clamshell a stable spot where it will not slide and bump every time the fridge door opens. Gentle handling keeps structure. Structure keeps juice where it belongs. A paper towel buffer can help berries stay drier because it absorbs stray moisture and small leaks that would otherwise sit against the fruit. The simplest method is to line the bottom of a container with a clean paper towel, add berries in a single layer when possible, and place another towel lightly on top if the container is deeper. The towel becomes a sacrificial sponge. It catches condensation and minor juice leaks before they spread. That often delays mold growth. The key is that the towel should stay mostly dry. If it becomes damp, change it, because a wet towel becomes the problem instead of the solution. This is not a requirement. It is just a small tool that can help when berries are a little fragile or when your fridge runs humid. Different berries have different fridge lifespans, and knowing the rough order helps you waste less. Raspberries are often the shortest lived because their hollow structure and many seams make them fragile. Blackberries often last a little longer because they are denser, though they still mold quickly if they stay damp. Strawberries tend to sit in the middle, depending on ripeness and handling, and they last longer when you keep caps on and avoid washing early. Blueberries and cranberries usually last longer because they are firmer and have more protective skin. And cranberries in particular are built for storage. So, a small plan helps. Use raspberries first, then blackberries, then strawberries, and let blueberries and cranberries be the berries you can rely on later in the week. Once you plan that order, you can make a calm decision about what to freeze before it turns. Room temperature storage is often a losing bet for berries because warmth speeds both softening and spoilage, especially in a warm home. Even a few hours can turn a firm berry into a softer berry that leaks sooner once chilled again, because the damage happened while it was warm and the clock does not reset. So, if you want berries to taste their best, keep them cold. Then let only the portion you are about to eat warm slightly in a bowl for a short time. That short warming can help aroma feel stronger without risking the whole carton. It is a simple rhythm: cold storage, small servings, dry surfaces, quick use. Where you put berries in the fridge can also matter in a quiet way. A steadier, less jostled spot helps. Many people like the crisper drawer because it protects fruit from bumps and from direct air movement. You do not need to chase perfection here. The goal is simply a stable, cold place where berries will not be crushed and where they will not sit next to something heavy that shifts and presses on them. Once that spot is chosen, freezing becomes the calm backup plan that turns too many berries into berries for later. Freezing is most useful when you can tell the berries are still flavorful, but their fresh window is closing. It is easier to freeze berries a day early than a day late. Soft berries that are still clean and not moldy can freeze well for cooking, even if they are not ideal for snacking. A simple approach is to spread berries in a single layer on a tray so they freeze separately, then transfer them to a bag or container. That keeps them from clumping into one solid block. If you do not want to do the tray step, freezing in a bag still works. The berries will just freeze together, and you will break off what you need. Either way, the home consequence is the same. Frozen berries become a cooking ingredient. They will be softer when thawed, and they will release more juice, but the flavor can remain bright in smoothies, sauces, oatmeal, muffins, and pancakes. With frozen berries, the juice will move idea becomes important. If you bake with frozen berries, add them straight from the freezer and fold gently so the color does not smear before the batter sets. If you thaw berries for a sauce, expect liquid and plan for it, letting the juice become part of what you thicken or simmer. Freezing does not preserve fresh crunch. It preserves flavor and gives you time. And that is the real goal of berry storage in any form. Buying time without feeding moisture. So the whole berry map can stay simple. Keep berries unwashed until use. Get them cold quickly. Avoid sealed humidity when you can. Check the bottom, sort early, and store shallow so pressure stays low. Use the fragile berries first, and when the week is moving faster than the fruit, freeze what you cannot finish. Cold buys time. Dry slows mold. Gentle handling protects what you brought home. Freezing is one of the most forgiving ways to keep berries for months because it pauses spoilage while keeping much of the fruit's flavor available for cooking and blending later. A simple scale is that fresh berries often give you days, while frozen berries can give you many months of usable time with almost no daily attention. That changes the feeling completely. Freezing turns berries from a race into a pantry-style ingredient, especially when you buy a large carton or find berries that are ripe all at once. Once freezing becomes a normal option, the next question is how to freeze in a way that stays easy to portion, so the berries actually get used. Flash freezing berries in a single layer helps prevent clumping, which is the main annoyance people run into with home freezing. The method is simple in concept. Spread berries out so they are not touching. Freeze until firm. Then transfer them to a bag or container for longer storage. When berries freeze separately first, they pour like loose pieces instead of breaking apart like a frozen brick. That little convenience matters more than it sounds. It is the difference between measuring a cup for muffins without effort and giving up because the bag is one solid chunk. Portioning convenience is often what makes frozen berries an everyday habit instead of a forgotten backup. Even when frozen berries taste good, thawed berries are usually softer than fresh. Freezing changes the inside. When the water in a berry freezes, it expands, and that stress can disturb the berry's delicate structure. When the berry thaws, it does not hold itself the same way it did before. So, thawed berries can feel jammy and tender. That texture is perfect for sauces, compotes, and smoothies, but it can be disappointing if you wanted a firm snack. Once you expect softness, the next common surprise stops feeling mysterious. You will usually see liquid in the bowl. Thawed berries release liquid because juice that used to be held inside intact cells is now freer to escape. An everyday comparison is a sponge that has been squeezed. The water is still there. It is just no longer held in the same way. So instead of treating the liquid as waste, you can treat it as part of the ingredient. It can flavor oatmeal, pancake batter, yogurt, and quick syrups. It can become part of a smoothie base. It can also be simmered down into a brighter, thicker sauce. When you plan for juice, thawed berries become predictable. And once you accept that frozen berries will be soft and juicy, it becomes easier to decide when to thaw at all and when to keep berries frozen. Dry berries freeze better than wet berries because surface water turns into extra ice. Extra ice creates frost, encourages clumping, and raises the risk of freezer burn. Freezer burn is what happens when food slowly loses moisture in the freezer and the surface becomes dry and dull. Air exposure speeds that drying. So if you rinse berries before freezing, thorough drying becomes essential. In many cases, it is easier to freeze berries unwashed and rinse only when you use them later. Dryness is one of the few steps that truly changes the outcome of home frozen berries. The berries freeze cleaner, they pour better, and they taste brighter when you finally use them. Most home frozen berries taste best when used within roughly 6 to 12 months, with earlier often tasting brighter. Over time, frozen fruit can slowly lose aroma and pick up faint freezer odors, even if it stays safe to eat, because cold slows change but does not stop it completely. So a small habit can help you rotate. Label the bag with a simple month marker. That one detail makes it easier to use older fruit for smoothies or baking while keeping newer fruit for dishes where berry flavor is more noticeable. You do not need a strict system. You just need a gentle reminder of what is older and what is newer. Once you have a general time window, the next question is what frozen berries are actually best for. Frozen berries shine in jobs where softness is an advantage. Smoothies, sauces, compotes, and baked fillings are the natural home for frozen fruit. In those uses, the berry's job is flavor and color, and tender texture becomes a head start rather than a drawback. This is also why frozen berries can be a reliable way to add fruit to breakfast and dessert year-round, even when fresh berries are expensive or inconsistent. If you accept frozen berries as a cooking ingredient, you can make the next decision calmly. Do you need to thaw it all? Using berries straight from the freezer often works better than thawing first, depending on the dish. In baking, frozen berries can help keep their shape a little longer because they start colder. They may burst later in the cooking time instead of immediately flooding a batter. So, for muffins, pancakes, and quick breads, adding berries frozen can reduce streaking and make portioning easier, while the bake still heats them through. For sauces and smoothies, thawing is optional. Heat and blending do the same job either way. In many cases, the simplest choice is to use frozen berries as they are and let the recipe handle the rest. Commercial frozen berries are often labeled IQF, which means individually quick frozen. That is why they pour like separate berries instead of clumps. Faster freezing tends to create smaller ice crystals, which can be gentler on texture than slow freezing, and the separate freeze method keeps pieces from sticking together. The home benefit is very practical. Store-bought frozen berries can be a consistent ingredient for baking in smoothies because you can measure them like dry goods. Knowing that commercial berries freeze well can also remove the pressure to buy fresh when quality is uncertain. Frozen can be the smart choice, not the compromise. Sugar can help frozen berries in certain uses because it draws out juice and creates a syrup that stays spoonable. A simple example is freezing berries with a light sprinkle of sugar for future dessert toppings, where you want saucy fruit rather than individual firm berries. The trade-off is versatility. Sweetened frozen berries are less flexible for savory uses, and they also lock you into a sweeter direction. So it helps to decide based on how you plan to use them later. Plain is best for flexibility. Sweetened is best for a ready-made dessert topping. Once you choose plain versus sweetened, the last practical freezing detail is packaging. Good freezer packaging limits air exposure because air encourages dehydration and lets berries absorb odors from other foods. Less air means brighter flavor. Press air out of a freezer bag, use a container with minimal headspace, and keep portions small so you only open what you plan to use. Several small bags are usually easier and fresher than one huge bag because you warm the package less often and you avoid dealing with half-thawed clumps that you try to refreeze. Small portions also match how people actually cook. A cup for muffins, a handful for oatmeal, 2 cups for a sauce. When the portion fits the job, berries get used. If you want one calm freezing rhythm, it can stay simple. Freeze berries while they are still clean and flavorful, not after they have started to spoil. Freeze them dry. Freeze them in portions you will actually reach for. Then treat them as cooking berries. Expect softness. Expect juice. Use that juice. And keep air out as much as you reasonably can. With freezing covered, the next gentle skill is washing and preparing berries in a way that keeps them firm, clean, and ready to use. Washing berries is mostly about removing surface dust and handling them gently enough that cleaning does not create more damage than it prevents. A simple scale is that a berry can bruise from the same pressure you might use to rinse a grape. So the safest wash is usually the lightest wash that still feels clean. Rinsing should be quick, cool, and calm. Long soaking tends to add water and increase breakage, especially for raspberries and blackberries. So you treat washing as gentle handling. The next detail is when to wash at all, because timing often matters more than technique. The simplest timing rule is to wash berries right before you eat or cook them, not days in advance. Washing adds moisture, and moisture is the fuel that helps mold move faster across a container. This happens most quickly in the seams of brambleberries and in the bottom layer of any pack where water and juice collect. So, unwashed berries often last longer in the fridge, while washed berries are better treated as use-soon fruit, even if they are stored cold. This is not a strict rule. It is a practical rhythm. Wash late, not early. With timing clear, the next step is choosing the safest washing motion. Cool running water is usually better than soaking because it rinses without letting berries sit in water. Soaking can dilute flavor and soften texture, and it can also leave hidden water behind in places that are hard to dry. Strawberries can take on water most easily through cut areas and damaged spots. Raspberries and blackberries hold water in their crevices, where droplets can hide even after a quick drain. So, the useful habit is a gentle stream over a colander with only minimal turning. Let the water do the work. Avoid aggressive stirring and rubbing. If a few berries look fragile, it is fine to rinse them in smaller batches so they are not pressed by their own weight. As berries are rinsed, drying becomes the step that protects shelf life. Drying berries matters because even clean water left on the surface encourages mold and softening. The easiest method is also the gentlest. Spread berries in a single layer on clean towels and let them sit until the surface looks matte rather than shiny. That matte look is a simple signal that surface water is gone. If air can move around the berries, drying often happens faster than people expect. Dry berries stay separate in storage. They do not glue themselves together with dampness and leaking juice. Dry surfaces last longer. When drying becomes the focus, a few berry-specific prep habits start making more sense. For strawberries, it helps to remove the hull after rinsing, because cutting first creates a small water doorway into the fruit. Once that top is cut away, water can enter more easily, and juice and aroma can escape more easily too. The berry can end up softer and less fragrant even if it looks clean. So, if you want strawberries to stay firmer, a calm order works well. Rinse first, dry next, then hull as the last step before slicing or serving. That single order change is small, but it often shows up clearly in texture. Raspberries and blackberries trap water more than most berries because their many drupelets create seams that hold droplets. Even after a quick rinse, a berry can look dry from above while still holding water in its folds. And that hidden moisture is exactly where mold tends to start first. So, brambleberries benefit from extra gentle drying time. They also benefit from being stored in a way that does not press wet berries together. If you are about to cook them right away, you may not need to fuss much. If you are rinsing for fresh eating, the goal is simply to let them drain and dry without squeezing their shape. All of this leads to a quiet question that helps keep prep simple. How much washing do you truly need? Many berries from a store only need a brief rinse to remove surface dust and handling residue. They do not need scrubbing. They also do not need soap. A clean stream of water and gentle draining is usually enough for the kind of everyday cleaning people want at home. The goal is not to sterilize a berry. The goal is to make it feel clean to eat, without bruising it in the process. Despite common assumptions, organic berries still benefit from rinsing. Organic describes how a crop is grown. It does not mean the fruit is free of dust, handling residue, or microbes. Berries pass through many hands and surfaces between field and home, and even clean-looking fruit can carry invisible particles you would rather rinse away. So, a simple rinse is a reasonable habit for any berries you plan to eat fresh, regardless of label. The emphasis stays the same. Gentle handling, not aggressive cleaning. Once rinsing is treated as normal, some people wonder whether special home rinses are worth it. One common option is a brief vinegar water rinse, followed by a thorough plain water rinse and careful drying. The idea is to reduce surface microbes and slow mold. The important point is that vinegar is not a magic shield. If there is a practical benefit, it is often modest, and it depends heavily on what comes next. Sorting, draining, and drying are what protect berries day to day. So if you try a vinegar rinse, keep it brief, rinse well afterward, and then focus on drying fully. Any leftover moisture can undo the gain. That approach stays calm and practical, without turning berries into a chemistry project. There is also a conversation many shoppers run into around residues and pesticides, especially with strawberries. In the US, strawberries are often highlighted in annual advocacy lists that rank produce by measured pesticide residues, such as EWG's Dirty Dozen. Those lists are debated, and they do not mean berries are unsafe to eat. Regulators and many food safety experts emphasize that residues are generally monitored and expected to remain within legal limits. And public health guidance still strongly encourages eating fruits and vegetables. So, the most useful step for most people remains simple. Rinse gently. Eat plenty of produce. Avoid fear-based avoidance that makes fruit feel like a problem. Keep the conversation calm and keep the prep practical. The last everyday prep detail is a simple way to handle berries without bruising them. Minimal handling is the quiet rule that protects berries during washing and drying. It helps to move them with a soft utensil or by tipping a colander, rather than squeezing or stirring them aggressively. A gentle shake to drain water can be safer than stirring with fingers, especially for raspberries, which crush easily and then coat everything with juice. Let gravity do more of the work. Let the berries rest in a single layer. Let the towels absorb what they can. When you want berries to stay whole, your hands do less work, and the setup does more. If you keep that rhythm, washing stops feeling like a fragile moment and starts feeling like a quick step on the way to eating. Wash late, not early. Rinse under cool running water instead of soaking. Dry until matte. Hull strawberries after rinsing. Give brambleberries time to drain. Move berries gently and avoid stirring them like a salad. Those are small choices, but they add up to berries that stay firmer, cleaner, and more pleasant to use. Once washing and prep feel easy, berries become ready for the fun part, where small choices like sugar, dairy, and heat turn them into everyday food without much effort. Berries often taste more aromatic when they warm slightly from refrigerator cold to cool room temperature, because many aroma compounds become easier to smell as the fruit warms. A simple scale is that a berry straight from the fridge can seem muted, then feel more berry-like after about 10 minutes in a bowl, even though the sweetness did not change. So, if a carton tastes bland at first bite, gentle warming of the portion you are eating can reveal more fragrance without adding sugar. It is a small shift, but it changes the experience. That same temperature idea also helps explain why berries feel so natural with dairy, which softens sharp edges while letting aroma spread more smoothly. Berries pair especially well with dairy because fat softens sharp acidity and helps carry aroma across the palate. Yogurt, cream, and ice cream do not just add richness. They make the same berry taste rounder and more complete, especially when the fruit is tart or slightly underripe. Protein also helps buffer the berry's bite, so you can get a balanced spoonful without needing much sweetener. So one calm fix for average berries is not a lot of sugar. It is a modest spoonful of yogurt or cream. Once dairy is in the picture, the next easy tool is sugar, used in a specific, gentle way, not to hide flavor, but to draw it out. Maceration is the simple trick of sprinkling a small amount of sugar on berries and letting them rest so the sugar pulls out juice and makes a natural syrup. The why is plain. Sugar draws water from the fruit, so berries soften slightly while a glossy pool of berry juice forms around them. This can happen quickly with ripe strawberries and raspberries, sometimes in as little as 10 to 20 minutes. Firmer berries, like blueberries, usually take a little longer to give up much liquid. The point is not to dissolve a mountain of sugar. The point is to create a syrup that tastes like berries, not like plain sweetness. Macerated berries become their own sauce for yogurt, pancakes, shortcake, or a bowl of ice cream. Once you have that syrup, a small amount of acid becomes the next lever because it can make berry flavor read brighter and cleaner. A little acid, such as lemon juice, can brighten berry flavor by sharpening the fruit's natural tart-sweet balance, especially in berries that taste flat or overly sweet. The scale is small. Often, it is just a teaspoon or two for a bowl of berries. The goal is to lift the flavor, not turn it into lemonade. In practice, acid makes berry taste feel more focused. It can also help cooked fruit taste clearer, because heat can make sweetness feel heavier, and acid restores some snap. Thinking of lemon as a seasoning helps. It is used in tiny amounts for clarity, the same way salt is used in savory food. Once that seasoning idea is clear, it leads naturally to what heat does, because heat is the fastest way to change berries from whole fruit into sauce. Heat breaks down berry structure quickly. Warmth softens cell walls and releases juice that was held inside the fruit, so berries move toward a spoonable mixture much faster than firmer fruits like apples. A simple comparison is that berries behave like small water balloons with thin skins. A short simmer turns them into something you can pour or spoon. That makes berry compote one of the quickest fruit preparations in the kitchen. You can stop early for a looser bowl with more whole berries, or cook a little longer for a smoother sauce. Heat makes sauce fast. Once heat has released the juice, the next question becomes thickness, because berries naturally want to be runny unless something helps them hold together. Many berries contain natural pectin, a plant fiber that can help cooked fruit thicken when conditions are right. Pectin sets best when there is enough sugar and a little acid in the mix. That is why classic jams often rely on fruit, sugar, and lemon rather than on flour-like thickeners. Still, different fruits behave differently. Some berries set readily, while others stay looser even when you cook them for the same amount of time, because pectin levels and water content vary. Jam can feel predictable with some fruit and tricky with others, even though the method looks the same on paper. One of the most common examples of that difference shows up with strawberries. Strawberries are relatively low in pectin compared with some other fruits, and they also contain a lot of water. That is why strawberry jam can turn out softer unless you adjust for it. Often, the adjustment is simply time. Longer cooking reduces water, but it also risks muting fresh strawberry fragrance if you push it too far. So, strawberry jam lives in a small balancing act. Runny strawberry jam is not necessarily a mistake. It is often just the natural outcome of a fruit that is perfumed but not naturally gel-strong. If a firmer texture is the goal, added pectin can help. Blending strawberries with a higher pectin fruit can help too. And a looser strawberry jam still has plenty of good uses, like stirring into yogurt or brushing onto cake layers as a glaze. The key idea is simple. Extra liquid needs a plan. That same extra liquid needs a plan idea shows up again in baking, especially when berries are frozen. Frozen berries often release more liquid in baking because freezing damages internal structure, so the fruit lets go of juice earlier in the heat of the oven. So fillings can turn runny unless you add a simple thickener. The most common fix is to toss berries with a small amount of starch, so the released juice thickens as it heats. The scale is modest. Often it is a spoonful or two of cornstarch, tapioca starch, or flour for a standard pie or cobbler amount, adjusted by how juicy the berries are and whether they were frozen. This does not stop juice from appearing. It simply turns the juice into a soft gel that holds the fruit in place instead of pooling at the bottom. Once you start working with berry juice on purpose, one last everyday fact becomes useful because berries leave strong marks wherever their pigments land. Berry juice stains easily because many berries carry strong natural pigments, especially the reds, blues, and purples that dissolve into water and cling to porous surfaces. A simple practical rule is to treat fresh stains with cold water first, because hot water can make some stains harder to remove by driving pigments deeper. Blotting instead of rubbing helps, because rubbing pushes color further into fabric. Choosing non-porous cutting surfaces when possible can help too, because wood and soft plastics hold on to color more stubbornly than smooth glass or sealed surfaces. Even when a stain lingers, the pigment is still just plant color, not something mysterious, and it responds better to patient cleaning than to aggressive scrubbing. With these everyday cooking tools in place, it becomes easier to talk about what those colors and skins mean in nutrition, without turning berries into hype. Berries tend to feel like a sweet food, but a big reason they fit into everyday eating is that they are mostly water. That high water content keeps their calorie density lower than many desserts and snack foods. A simple real-life anchor is that a cup of berries looks like a lot of food in a bowl, because so much of that cup is moisture rather than dense starch or fat. The portion feels generous even before you add anything to it. So berries can satisfy a sweet craving with fewer calories than pastries, candy, or ice cream, especially when the berries replace a processed sweet instead of being added on top of one with extra sugar or cream. That same mostly water fact also explains why jam and dried berries feel much richer per bite. When you remove water, you concentrate everything else. Once that basic idea is clear, it makes sense to notice the other quiet part of berries that changes how filling they feel, which is fiber. Berries contribute fiber, and much of that fiber lives in the parts you can see and feel, like skins, tiny seeds, and the delicate framework that gives each berry its bite. Fiber works quietly by slowing digestion and supporting regularity, and it also tends to increase the sense of fullness. That is one reason whole fruit usually feels more satisfying than sweet drinks with the same berry flavor. A simple comparison is that a berry drink can taste intense while providing very little of the original fiber, because the pulp and skins are often reduced or filtered away. A smoothie made from whole berries usually keeps more of that structure and most of the tiny seeds, as long as you do not strain it. So the useful habit is simple. Eat berries whole when you can, or blend them without filtering when you want a drinkable form. Fiber is the quiet filler. Once fiber is on the table, vitamin differences start to feel like useful details rather than confusing trivia. Vitamin C varies by berry, and strawberries are often notable among common berries for providing a meaningful amount in a normal serving. Vitamin C is water-soluble and sensitive to time and heat, so the amount you get can drift depending on how long the berries sat after harvest, how cold they stayed, and whether they are eaten fresh or cooked down. At home, that means fresh berries and gently warmed berries both contribute, but long simmering tends to reduce vitamin C more than quick heating. The vitamin can break down, and some of it can move into cooking liquid that may be poured away. This is not a reason to worry. It is just a reminder that fresh and lightly handled fruit keeps more of the most delicate vitamins. With that grounded, berry color becomes the next easy clue, because pigments are nutrients in their own way. Those colors are not decoration. They are a signal that plants are making protective compounds. Many berry reds, purples, and blues come from plant pigments called anthocyanins, a family of natural compounds found in many dark-skinned fruits and vegetables. In plain terms, these pigments are part of how plants protect themselves from stress, like sun and pests. We experience them mainly as deep color, and sometimes as a faintly tart edge that makes berries taste bright rather than only sweet. Anthocyanins are concentrated largely in skins, which is one reason darker berries and some wild blueberries can taste more intense per bite. They are also one reason berries often score high on antioxidant tests in the lab. The word antioxidant is best treated as a description of chemistry, not a promise that one food will create one guaranteed effect in a short time. That calm framing keeps berries in the right place. They are not magic. They are a useful part of a pattern. With pigments in mind, the next question becomes less about chasing perfection and more about choosing forms that make berries easy to eat. Fresh and frozen berries can be nutritionally similar because freezing is often done soon after harvest, which holds many nutrients close to where they started. The biggest difference is usually texture, not basic nutrition. Freezing softens berries when thawed, but it does not remove fiber, minerals, or most pigments. Those are the parts that make berries more than just sweet. So, frozen berries can keep berry nutrition available year-round, and they can also make portioning easier because you can use exactly what you need and keep the rest cold and dry with less waste. The label matters here. Berries frozen plain are different from berries packed in syrup, and the simplest question on a bag is often the most important one. What, if anything, was added? Berries do contain natural sugars, but they deliver those sugars in a package of water, fiber, and acidity that changes how sweet they feel and how quickly they are eaten. A handful of berries usually takes more chewing and more volume than a handful of candy that tastes equally sweet, and that slower pace often increases satisfaction. So, berries can work as a sweet element in many eating styles, especially when paired with foods that add staying power, like yogurt, nuts, or oats. That pairing does not have to be heavy. It is just a way to make the sweetness feel steadier and more complete. When you start thinking about berries as a regular sweet you can actually keep around, it makes sense that some berries, especially blueberries, show up often in nutrition research. Research does not replace real life, but it can explain why certain berries get extra attention. Blueberries are frequently studied partly because they are widely eaten, and partly because their deep pigments are easy to measure and compare across studies. Some research looks at blueberry-rich diets, and some looks at concentrated blueberry powders, then tracks a few body markers over time. Results vary with the population, the amount, and the length of the study, so the takeaway is not that blueberries are a miracle food. The everyday takeaway is calmer. Blueberries are a reasonable default berry when you want consistent flavor and a nutrient-rich choice that is easy to use fresh or frozen across the year. They are sturdy enough to fit into many dishes, and they tend to be reliable in the fridge and in the freezer. It also helps to remember that studies often use powders or extracts that are not identical to a bowl of whole berries. So, everyday eating is still the measure that matters most at home. The same research spotlight shows up in cranberries too, but with a narrower and more specific question. Cranberries contain compounds often discussed as proanthocyanidins, which have been studied for their role in reducing the ability of certain bacteria to stick to the urinary tract. Any benefit, when it appears, is generally discussed as modest, and it is more often linked to certain juices or concentrated products than to a few berries eaten once. Many cranberry drinks on shelves are also diluted and sweetened to balance the fruit's natural tartness, so the label matters. So, cranberry products make the most sense when chosen for taste and tradition first, while any possible support is treated as a small bonus rather than a promise. If a product tastes like candy, it is usually because it is carrying a lot of added sweetness, not because cranberries are naturally mild. Plain dried cranberries are uncommon. Most are sweetened. That is not bad. It is just something to notice, so you know what you are buying. After all of these details, the calm nutrition takeaway is not a special compound. It is the habit. The most practical nutrition advantage of berries comes from consistency rather than perfection. Small servings eaten often usually matter more than rare, idealized superfood moments. A simple scale is that adding berries to breakfast a few times a week, even just a modest handful, can do more for overall diet quality than waiting for the perfect local peak that appears once a year and then disappears. So it helps to keep berries in forms you will actually use. Fresh, when they are good and affordable. Frozen, when you want reliability without waste. The goal is to keep the habit easy and calm, so berries stay present in your week without becoming a project. And once berries become a steady habit, seasons, climate, and supply start to matter, because they shape what shows up in stores, how long it lasts, and how it tastes. To keep the habit going, it helps to understand how berries are grown and why the calendar still matters. Many berries feel like warm season fruit because their best flavor is usually tied to long days, mild nights, and steady ripening, even though stores offer them across much more of the year. A simple scale is that a local peak might last only a few weeks, while grocery availability can stretch across many months by shifting where the fruit is grown. So, berry season is not one date on a calendar. It is a moving window that changes by region, variety, and weather. The same berry can taste different simply because it came from a different place at a different moment. Once you start thinking in moving windows, year-round berries stop feeling mysterious and start feeling like overlapping harvest maps. One quiet reason those maps matter is pollination. Pollinators shape berry production because many berry flowers need pollen moved efficiently to set fruit well. Bees and other insects do that work by visiting blossoms again and again, and more complete pollination usually leads to more complete fruit development. When pollination is weak, yields can be smaller and fruit can be less consistent in shape, which can affect both price and quality in a given week. So, if you notice berries that look uneven or sparse in a container during certain stretches, pollination conditions can be one reason in the background, alongside weather and handling. Strawberry shape is especially linked to pollination because each tiny seed on the outside represents a small fruit unit that formed after pollination. If some areas of the flower are not pollinated evenly, those outside points may not develop normally, and the berry can end up lopsided or with a pinched end. A real-life anchor is that a misshapen strawberry often tastes fine, but it can be a snapshot of what happened during bloom, including weather and bee activity. Shape is not only about variety and handling, it can also reflect the conditions the plant experienced while the flower was turning into fruit. Once that connection makes sense, it becomes easier to see why berry farmers care so much about what blooms, when, and what insects are active. Blueberries often benefit from cross-pollination between varieties, meaning pollen from a different variety can help produce better fruit set or larger berries in many plantings. Farms commonly grow more than one variety close together, so bees naturally move pollen across rows as they forage. So, a blueberry field is often planned like a neighborhood rather than a single repeating plant. The variety mix can make harvests more reliable, and it can also help explain why blueberry flavor and size vary subtly across brands. Different farms lean on different varieties, and those varieties carry their own balance of sweetness, firmness, and aroma. That is one reason two clamshells can both say blueberries and still taste slightly different. Beyond pollination and variety, climate needs shape berry regions in a very practical way. Berries have specific comfort zones for temperature, light, and water. Blueberries can be picky about soil. Cranberries depend on managed water systems. Brambleberries can struggle when heat and humidity raise mold pressure, so supply shifts when weather turns extreme. A heat wave can soften berries quickly and shorten their usable life before they ever reach a store. Heavy rain can increase rot and make fruit more fragile. A sudden cold snap can damage flowers before fruit ever forms. Quality is a weather story. That is why berry quality can swing from week to week, even when you buy the same fruit and store it the same way at home. Many berry plants also rely on a winter rest period, sometimes described as needing a certain amount of chill, to set themselves up for healthy flowering later. In plain language, many plants need a real winter pause so buds develop properly. When winters are unusually warm, flowering can be uneven and the crop can be less consistent. So berries are not only about summer weather, they are also about what happened months earlier, because next season's crop begins forming long before the first blossom appears. Once you see that longer timeline, it makes sense that growers use both geography and variety choice to match plants to local winters. Some varieties are built for colder winters, others fit milder regions. The calendar matters in more than one season. Protected growing, such as tunnels and covered systems, helps berries by reducing direct weather damage, especially from heavy rain and wind that can bruise fruit and spread mold. A simple real-life anchor is that berries kept drier on the plant often develop fewer soft spots and fewer hidden fuzzy patches later in the clamshell. Protection can also buffer cool nights and extend harvest windows in shoulder seasons. It does not make berries sturdy. It simply helps them avoid the wet, stressful conditions that speed spoilage. These systems work best when they are managed with airflow in mind, so plants do not sit in trapped humidity. When the balance is right, protected fruit can look cleaner and last a bit longer, not because it is different fruit, but because it experienced fewer rough days. Year-round berries in U.S. stores are often made possible by a relay of growing regions. Warmer areas supply fruit during winter, and during North American off-season months, berries can also come from the opposite hemisphere. Once you accept that relay system, the calendar in the produce section starts to make sense. It also explains a common flavor difference. Travel distance and harvest timing become part of taste. Berries that must travel farther are often picked a bit firmer to survive the trip, and that firmness can trade off with the last bit of perfume that develops right at the end. This does not make imported or off-season berries bad. It simply explains why they can be less fragrant and why they often benefit from the small kitchen tricks you already know, like gentle warming, a spoonful of dairy, or a short maceration. Local berries and you-pick farms show the other side of the map. They highlight how much berry flavor can improve when fruit is eaten close to harvest, because the berries can stay on the plant longer and be handled less. Short travel time also means fewer temperature swings, less stacking pressure, and fewer chances for bruises that later turn into leaks. So, when you find truly local berries in peak season, they are often the best candidates for simple eating. Off-season berries can be excellent candidates for cooking, freezing, or using with supportive pairings, because those methods bring out flavor and make texture less of a test. With the season map in mind, the next step is to look at how varieties and labels shape what you actually buy, and why different forms of berries exist for different jobs. Breeding shapes what we call a good berry, because growers and shippers need fruit that can survive picking, packing, and travel without collapsing. A simple, real-life anchor is that a berry may spend several days moving through harvest crews, cooling rooms, trucks, and store displays, so firmness and shelf life become almost as valuable as flavor. That creates trade-offs. A variety bred for bigger size, tougher skin, and stronger disease resistance may be easier to sell widely, while a variety bred for peak perfume may bruise quickly and lose its best moment fast. In everyday terms, some berries are built for travel and some are built for the same-day bowl, and both can be good when you use them for the job they were made to do. One easy clue is texture. Shipping-friendly berries are often firm enough to stack without leaking, while peak flavor berries often feel a little softer and more fragile. Once that idea is in place, it becomes easier to accept the next truth, because it explains why the most intense berries often hide in the most local places. Some older or heirloom-leaning berry varieties can taste more intense, but they often ship poorly and spoil faster, which is one reason they rarely dominate mainstream grocery shelves. The berries that taste most just picked are often the berries least likely to survive long-distance handling, because tenderness and fragrance tend to arrive together. So, these varieties show up more often at farms, local stands, and you-pick places, where the fruit can be eaten soon after harvest instead of being asked to look perfect a week later. A calm way to use this is to treat local as a flavor clue rather than a marketing word, since shorter travel usually allows riper picking and gentler handling. The trade-off is that local berries often ask for a shorter plan. They are made for a day or two of easy eating, not a week of waiting. Once you start thinking in purposes and timelines, less common berries begin to feel less mysterious and more like another branch of the same story. Gooseberries and currants are less common in many U.S. supermarkets, yet they are everyday berries in other places, and they still appear in specialty markets and home gardens. Their flavors often lean tart and aromatic rather than purely sweet, which makes them natural for preserves, pies, and sauces, where brightness matters more than sweetness alone. In some parts of the United States, currants were once restricted because of concerns about a pine tree disease, and that history helped keep them out of ordinary shopping habits for a long time. So, availability can feel patchy. When you do see them, it helps to think of them as cooking berries in the cranberry sense, designed to shine with sugar, heat, or dairy. For a simple picture, currants are often pea-sized and pop quickly into sauces, while gooseberries can be closer to a small grape and can be used whole in pies or gently stewed into compote. From there, it is a short step to notice how often breeding is really about making harvest easier, not just changing flavor. Thornless blackberries are a clear example of breeding aimed at people's hands as much as at the fruit itself, because removing thorns makes harvesting safer, faster, and less damaging to the berries. When pickers can move without getting scratched, the fruit spends less time being squeezed, repositioned, and jostled, which can mean fewer bruises and less leakage in the container. It can also support faster, calmer handling after picking, including quicker cooling and more consistent sorting. And those steps often show up later as better-looking berries at home. So, a thornless trait can quietly appear on your table as fewer crushed berries at the bottom of the pack and fewer sticky patches that spread spoilage. Even if you never think about the plant, the design of harvest can echo all the way into the clamshell. That same breeding logic shows up in strawberries, where many modern choices are built around processing and shipping needs. Not every strawberry you buy was bred to taste its best at the moment you open the pack, because many strawberries are selected for firmness, appearance, and long travel first. A berry that holds firm, stays bright, and resists bruising can be a better commercial choice than a berry with a fragile, perfume-heavy peak that lasts only a day. This is one reason off-season strawberries can look flawless and still taste mild, and why some very firm strawberries slice neatly, even when their aroma is modest. At home, the calm move is to match the strawberry to the use. Firm, mild berries often work well in fruit salads and dip desserts, where you want clean slices and tidy texture. Softer, more fragrant berries are often best eaten plain, or given a short maceration so their juice becomes part of the bowl. Some strawberries are also bred to keep their color and shape when frozen or cooked, which can be useful in home baking as well as in manufacturing. Once purpose becomes part of your decision, 2 cartons with the same name start to make more sense, even when they taste like different fruits. Flavor can vary sharply across varieties of the same berry, which is why brand and week-to-week timing can matter as much as the berry's name. 2 cartons labeled blueberries can come from different varieties, different regions, and different harvest moments, and those differences can show up as changes in sweetness, tartness, and aroma, even when both look equally blue. One carton can taste gently honeyed, while another tastes sharper and more wine-like, and both can still be perfectly good. A simple habit is to notice which brands taste best to you in a given month and return to them when quality feels steady, treating it like choosing a dependable kind of bread or yogurt. Sometimes a package will mention a variety name, and when it does, it can help you remember which flavor profile you liked, though many packs stay generic. There is no need to track this like a project. A small mental note is enough. Some weeks are simply better weeks, and berries make that visible. Variety also changes how you judge ripeness. White or pale strawberries exist, including types sometimes sold as pine berries, and they are ripe by aroma and pattern rather than by turning fully red. Instead of a deep red surface, a ripe, pale strawberry may have a creamy base with red seeds and a noticeably sweet smell. Many people describe the flavor as mild and slightly tropical. The key point is that you can't judge these berries by the same color cues you use for standard strawberries. So smell and firmness become the main signals. For pale strawberries, ripeness lives in aroma. These berries can taste flat if eaten too early because their ripeness hides in fragrance more than in color. And they often benefit from that brief 10 minutes out of the fridge, warming you already know. In many kitchens, the easiest use is to treat pale strawberries like a gentle accent berry, pairing them with yogurt, cream, or other fruit that provides a brighter edge. Once you get comfortable with berry variety, processed berry forms start to feel like another kind of variety too. Beyond fresh cartons, many people buy berries in forms that behave like entirely different ingredients, mostly because water has been removed, added, or concentrated. Freeze-dried berries are crunchy and intensely flavored because almost all water is removed, so they add berry punch without adding moisture to cereals, snack mixes, and some baking. Dried berries are chewy and commonly sweetened to balance tartness, which makes them closer to a candy-like ingredient unless you use them in small amounts for bursts of flavor and color. Purees and concentrates are smoother and more uniform than fresh fruit, which is why they show up in yogurt, drinks, and desserts when consistency matters. Juices and berry drinks can be refreshing, but they often separate berry flavor from berry fiber, which is why they feel different from a bowl of whole fruit. It is the same berry story, just with water moved around. Reading ingredient labels is the fastest way to choose processed berry products on purpose, because the berry itself is often only one part of what you are buying. A jam, a fruit spread, and a berry syrup can all taste very different depending on how much sugar was added and how much water was reduced away, even if the front label shows the same fruit picture. One simple rule helps. Ingredients are listed in order of weight, so if sugar is near the top, the product will usually taste much sweeter than the berry itself, while products that list fruit first tend to read more like fruit. That quiet label habit helps you choose what fits your taste without turning shopping into homework. And with that, berries can stay in your life in many gentle forms, from fresh cartons to frozen bags to crunchy freeze-dried pieces, without needing a single perfect season every time. Good night, and may your rest come softly and easily.